Hello and welcome to the Battling Barrow and another D&D Mystara campaign waffle session. No face today as I'm partway through filming something and I don't want to change all the setup, and it's a hot day so I don't want to close the windows, so excuse the background noise. I thought we'd just get straight onto it and pick up where we left off last session. So the players are heading northwest, and to speed things up, I knew it was going to take 2 days travel before we got to the planned encounter I wanted to run for this session, the opening one. And so I rolled for random encounters the night before. Now, truth be told, I did not want any because I wanted to get straight onto that planned encounter, then get up to the temple and explore the temple. And so I roll for the first day, nothing. For the first night, nothing. For the second day, nothing. And finally, for the second night, oh, yeah, get an encounter. Okay, let's get up those percentile dice and see what I get. And, oh my goodness, it's only a stone giant. That means Gargoyle, and this actually plays into my favour, because last session I forgot to actually give the players a bit of information about the temple. The fact that it's situated on an island on the river towards the on a lake towards the northwest. So this is great. It means I can rather than just say to players, oh, I forgot last session Gargoyle actually additionally said this, I can actually do it in game. So yeah, they camp for the night, but I build up a bit of tension by saying you hear the thunderous footsteps coming through the undergrowth. Boom, 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 and then it's like, oh, hello. Again, as that's Gargoyle's voice if you watch the long plays. And so he explains this information to him in-game and disappears. Brilliant. Next morning we carry on and get to the edge of the lake bank. It's a bit marshy here, and this is a Dimetrodon encounter. On the river bank there are some rocks where 19 Dimetrodons are basking in the sun, but on the one of the rocks, about 8 inches tall, is a golden idol. Now I made this golden idol shaped like the statues the players have already encountered, which is a very squid faced like being, and the players actually fell for it. They want this gold statue, it's big, shiny, and so they go for it. Their plan of action is to use Draco and Newt once more to fly over and pick the statue up so they don't have to get entangled with the water and the Dimetrodons. Sounds great. Problem is, as soon as the statue is picked up, all chaos breaks out. A lot of the Dimetrodons, the males, the females and the baby sort of dive into the water and swim away to safety, and 8 males sort of attack the party. They're swimming towards them and they attack the party, beginning to attack the party, and so we have an opening combat. It goes about as well as we can expect. There's fun as a Dimetrodon gets a 1 and a fumble, and so his weapon, which is himself, gets pushed back 20 foot, so came up with a little noise for the Dimetrodon as he's splashing around in the water.
What noise do the Dimetrodons make?
Blah, 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 blah.
I do now.
But after the combat, I want to go back in time to a week ago, to the night when Anirothel decided to jump overboard and swim towards a passing merchant vessel. We're going to flashback and incorporate his story into this session, as Anirothel, our player, has awesomely returned to the tabletop. So yeah, I'm now having to get him to where the players are, so we're doing it in a flashback, but this allows me to do some things. So basically he swims to the merchant ship. I guess he recognises it as something he's seen before, and it's a Rakasta merchant ship, and there are, remember last session I said about the Rakasta, or what were going to be Tabaxi playing characters? They are these. They're just a small merchant vessel looking for Leonardo de Castro to join up with that adventuring party to find the Rakasta temple. But first they're going to circumnavigate the island to get a feel for it, and that's where Anirothel joins them. He boards the vessel, and at first there is, someone's boarded their vessel, but then due to charm, persuasion, coercion, he manages to convince them that he is here to assist them. Perhaps he sings something that they haven't. And they sail round the bay. So what I was doing here was flipping back between the present of the Dimetrodon combat and the past of Anirothel. So almost in initiative order, just to keep it all flowing, so it wasn't just 1 block, 2 blocks, just, you know, keep the story flowing. And so one by one, the Dimetrodons are whittled down, wounds and stuff are happening, and the last one, the one that got pushed back in the water, suddenly dies, and I had to come up with a death rattle sound for it.
What does its death rattle sound like?
We go back in time now, and Anirothel and his crew of Rakasta are now well acquainted. They've travelled for a day and they're now on the northern coast, northwestern coast, sort of heading south. They're quite near the lair, near an island mountain of a rock that has 2 juvenile rocks. Now this is an encounter in itself, the juvenile rocks. The result is, if they kill the juvenile rocks, the players, they get a map that shows treasure in that drunken Ankylosaurus location from last session. Now I knew my players weren't going to find this or maybe hit this encounter, so here's my chance to adjust it and have a rock encounter in the game. But for this, because we are on a galley ship that has 8 cannons, we're going to run it with a full-size rock attacking the ship. Now this ties into that, if you remember the guide from a few episodes back that they could have picked, that was a crew member of a ship that got picked up and carried away by a giant rock. This is that rock that does that, so there was a chance this ship could be taken up and destroyed. And so this is quite an exciting encounter, really. It gets back to that nautical aspect I want to get really up and running in this campaign. We're on Isle of Dread, so we're having a little pause on that, but yeah, we're getting back to that. Ship manoeuvres and cannons firing. And so yeah, I think what I'm going to do is play a clip from the game and let Anirothel's player Liam tell the story.
Describe how you're dealing with this.
So I've kind of commandeered this ship and crew, and I haven't staged a mutiny as such. I've just charmed the captain into. I don't want to say it, but I'm the captain now.
I'm the Pope now.
Being that Anirothel has an Irish accent, not sure how okay that is.
Buying your time, man. I'm buying your time.
It's fine. It covered up my joke. Anirothel is going to call out all different orders to the crew, and then he's going to pull out the symbol of Calitha. For once, the ever can work. And look up at the sky and push his hand up and try and call the storm. I rolled for it. The percentile.
You did?
What happens?
For a moment there is nothing, there is just silence, but then the rain begins to fall, and it's not long. So yes, he has called forth a storm. Now if you remember going back when he was last in the game, this is part of his character development. He wants to multi-class as a cleric of Khalifa, who is sort of a sun, water, ocean immortal in Mystara. And beforehand the ship had been blessed by a cleric of Khalifa, and a storm had happened and he called upon her, but nothing happened. It turned into a tornado, a hurricane tornado, and sort of damaged the ship. So his faith was tested. He sort of wobbled a bit, but it's come back stronger, and now he calls forth a storm to help him. And the clouds that we've mentioned earlier suddenly get darker, and a storm breaks out first. The rain, and then the winds, and then the lightning, and this is assisting him and his crew fight this rock. And so my end result for this is I wanted to get them the map, and that is precisely what happens. The cannons roar, blast the rock. The rock attacks the ship takes damage, but then the rock is defeated and the corpse of the rock hits the bow of the ship, and as it rolls off, Anirothel spots something, runs in and grabs this parchment tucked in its feathers as the rock rolls over the sea. The ship taking quite a bit of damage. It's now fairly crippled now. It's not going to travel very far without major repairs. But that is it. Now we return back to the future. And our other party have now skirted around the lake to the northeast side, where they see, about 20 foot from the shoreline, an old rowboat. Garkle had mentioned this earlier on, but who it belongs to, no one knows anymore. They check it over and it seems seaworthy or lake-worthy, and so they push it into the water and they all hop aboard and row out towards the island, where they can see like a jungle place, maybe some sort of ruin there somewhere, could be the temple. So they roll towards that, and it's not long before they feel a massive thud from the underside of the boat, and that takes damage and it begins to leak in water, and out from the water a snake-like serpentine head rises up, but reptilian in look. They check press notes because they know this is a thunder lizard or dinosaur, and they see it is a plesiosaurus, and it is mean. Something's up with it. Again, they read and they sort of say, this normally eats fish, why is it attacking us? Something's put in a foul mood, and so they begin to attack it. Walker decides to blast it twice with his two pistols, which does take a lot of damage out from it and makes it look like a gory mess. They ultimately end up defeating it, as you would expect from my party here. Just as it's sinking into the sea, though, they manage to, I think it's Tibbs, has a harpoon, javelin, and he ties a rope around quickly and sort of throws it into it and manages to sort of harpoon it, and they drag it to shore. They've heard that plesiosaurus meat tastes lovely, and I get this from a film from the 70s called The Land That Time Forgot. It's where it's set in the Second World War, and some Americans, British and Americans, get on board a German submarine and end up in a land before time with dinosaurs, and they have a plesiosaurus encounter there, and they eat the meat. So I wanted to do that. So plus it saves on provisions. We did earlier on roll for provisions as well, so they had found fresh water and what have you. Now we've got plesiosaurus meat to eat, but it's while they're dissecting it that Tibbs finds a skeleton hand sort of lodged in its gullet, which is probably it's eaten something that it shouldn't underwater, and that's probably what's put it in a bad mood. But the skeleton hand has a ring, and it is a ring of regeneration, so yay, rewards. We get to the other side of the island, patching up the rowboat enough to get them across, wade our way through a little jungle until we get to the temple. This does not look like a Rakasta temple. This is a ziggurat type of temple, and from what they can see here at the top, there looks like to be a black sacrificial tablet with two columns with writing on, and the top part looks to be overgrown with vines and vegetation. What they look at on the floor, they failed really to pay attention to, were four corpses that as they enter rise up. Now these things are disgusting. Their chest has sort of burst open and there is a gory wound there. Now these aren't normal zombies, these are something for the Goodman Games version of the game, and they're pronounced something that I can't say here, so I let my in-game person try and do it. I can't even pronounce what they're called.
Let's have a look.
So you chose well. Oh, good.
Yeah, they're called that. If you want to know, XOCH18. Don't look too much.
Normally if it's next to the front, it's
Zocho. So it'd be a Z, wouldn't it?
Soccer-tatio.
Which one?
This one here.
This one, yeah.
Mm.
I'll let you read that and then...
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, anyway, some of those. And yeah, we have... There's a little fight here. I'm enjoying this. It's a really action-packed session, and because of our rule where you can only... I'm hoping that got picked up on my cat stretching out next to me. I'm recording my cat next to me. Yeah, we have a rule where you can only do a long rest in a place of safety, such as an inn, or in our case, a village, their ship, and of course they're nowhere near any of these, so we're not having long rests, we're just having short rest, and we have a medium rest as well. So yeah, they can use hit dice to recover hit points, but not, full on. And Gelfenwith can use her arcane recovery, whatever it's called, where she can recover up to half her level in spell slots a day in a short rest. So that's okay, so it's not going to be useless or anything. But yeah, resources are being whittled down with each combat. So we defeat these and make our way to the top of the ziggurat. We climb up and it's Tibbs that takes the lead, and as he gets to the top of he can see the sacrificial table, the black sacrificial table better, and it's covered in blood. Some, as he does a little check on it, looks fresh, like, fresh, and some of it's dry and ancient, and others look like, well, it could be like a week old. And it's then that we roll for initiative, because those vines, no one checked for those vines. That's quite a difficult check anyway, because all the time they're not moving, they just look like normal vines. But these are awakened vines, and they grow and begin to attack the players. It's almost like everything on this part of the island is deadly. And so, yeah, there's a combat. I think a key moment of this is Walker trying to jump over from where he is over the table to get to a new position. Completely botches that. Not with a 1. That would have been falling all the way down to the bottom of the temple. But he gets a 3, and he needed like a 15, moderate check for this. And so I have him falling prone and taking a bit of full damage from it. And yeah, it's... I think Patches, their sailor person, he takes a lot of damage here and almost dies. The vine sort of grabs him and attacks him. Now, it doesn't manage to fling him, which would have flung him all the way down to the bottom, certainly killed him, but he's got him down to about 4 hit points. It's only an NPC, but some of the other players are taking damage. But again, I really enjoyed this combat. I've actually really enjoyed the past 2 sessions combat. Combat for me in D&D isn't my favourite. I assume that's me doing it not as good as I could. I'm assuming I'm running it slightly wonky, but ho-hum, these 2 sessions were great. So we defeat the vines, and now we're looking for a way in, and it's there that they spot a hole going in. They get Newt to cast I forget what the spell is, but it's where you cast 3 lights and you can position them. So they cast that, and they're ascertaining by moving these lights around that it's about a 200 drop at the bottom, and they can see a liquid in there. So they look at their options. They got some rope, and they get out. There's 50 foot of rope. That's not going to be good enough for 200 drop. And then I think it's Gelfenwith to suggest getting these vines they've just killed and sort of lashing them together to form 200 foot of rope. It's then that Tibbs has decided to kind of do this thing where you put your arms and legs out and climb down the opening chute of the shaft. Sounds good, but it's a pyramid, so it quickly soon opens up, and he slips, loses grip, and falls. And they hear him scream, "Ah!" And it's a long scream. And Tibbs himself is falling, but he's not falling. He's sort of going really slow, kind of like some sort of magic stopped him falling, almost like something wants to keep people alive and not fall to their deaths down below. Foreshadowing. And it's just at the bottom, last few feet, that the spell sort of ends, and they do drop, and it does something like 4d6 damage drop. I guess that's to weaken the people, maybe break the legs to stop them from running. Foreshadowing. And so then the others called out, "Are you okay, Tibbs?" And he's like, "Yep, fine, kind of." And as his eyes adjust to the gloom, he lands in a cavernous area, and at one side there is sort of a dry platform with a wall. It looks like there's a door open there they could get towards there, There's no other way out, and he's looking around into the gloom, around the water. The water itself is not that deep, but it's not that clean either. It's this muddy, sludgy, awful water. But then as his eyes adjust further, Tibbs sees the most horrific thing he has ever seen, that anyone's probably ever seen in their lives. It's a mermaid looking thing, so it has a free fluted tail. The upper part is vaguely humanoid-ish, but it has a massive bulbous head with tentacles hanging down. This is a cobra, recently awakened due to all the weather activity and volcanic activity that's been going on, has warmed up the water in this part and awakened it from its ancient slumber. People have been a tribe, I guess. We don't know yet, but someone has been sacrificing people here as well due to the recent blood to feed it. They know that the time is at hand for the old ones to come back, I guess. Hence the water portal that needs to be closed, which is causing all this activity to happen. Meanwhile, the others have started to drop down. They quickly realise again that they're slowed down, and they suddenly see Tibbs fighting for his life. Now, one thing the players didn't spot here, and I missed as well, but so I'll pick this up next session for them, is the 14 points of damage is going to, which is the minimum it's going to be, something like that, it's going to kill Patches. They won't realise it. I'll go over it next time, so if they're listening, spoilers. If they're not, it'd be a bit of a surprise, because we're going to pick up where this session ends, because we're almost at the end of this. You'll be pleased to know my waffle. Yeah, so he dies. The others take damage except for Walker, who quickly realises he can use his Boots of Misty Step to get to the platform just in time to save taking the damage. Acceptable. And now the fight of their lives come on. This is probably the hardest thing they've ever fought, except for the spawn of August back in the Halloween episode, and even then they didn't really fight that, they just managed to get a way to banish it back to some sort of plane where it come from. Whereas this is a beast. It's a Corporal Sovereign in Goodman Games. Due to the higher level, I've sort of upped things a little bit for them to make it a challenge, and this was a challenge. 4 attacks, mind reading, control. It's got a load of hit points. Yeah, this thing, they suddenly realise this is deadly. It would have been if my dice, if you watch the long play, you'll notice all through this session I barely roll above a 10 on any dice. But anyway, they do realise this thing is a threat, which is good, and the players, and it's looking quite grim for the players. They are struggling really, and it's at that moment, just in the darkest moment, Walker has his back to the door and it's looking very grim, and it's just then that from the door a blade engulfed in red flames pokes its way out of the darkness from beyond, then another one on the other side, and finally in the centre, in between these two red flame blades, a green flame blade pokes through, and the players breathe a sigh of relief as they know this is Anirothel, and the tables are turned in their favour once more. Anirothel steps through with 2 big Rakastas. He sings a song that grants everyone, some players, bardic inspiration, and even with this it's still a challenge, but they manage to defeat the Corporal. And I shall let Anirothel's player tell you about this.
You hear echo around the chamber, and it feels, to you it feels like the ancients. To you it feels ethereal and otherworldly. You both get a point of inspiration, so you get D6.
It's still a fight for their lives, and then Anirothel calls upon Khalifa once more, and the weirdest thing happens. Within this underground cavern, a storm rages, lightning flickers, rain begins to fall. It gives them what they need to lay this ancient evil to rest. And that's it. That's where we're going to leave it. They're going to have to come up, back up, escape from the temple, probably from when Anirothel come through. And I haven't noticed that Patches is going to be collapsed and dead now. But yes, that is it for this session. Next session, well, a week or so's time. Really looking forward to it. Really enjoyed this one. I hope you did too. Please have a watch of the full playthrough session of this. At the moment my mixer's got a problem, so you may notice on the clips I'm using this, the audio's a bit scratchy, which is annoying. I'm going to try and fix that, or I may have to buy a new mixer. But that's it for this one. Until the next video guys, stay safe, take care, bye bye.